Hello there, kia ora. Do you know how much influence some of our media has on political outcomes or on the way that people feel about political outcomes? Media shaping policy and public opinion around policy actually isn't something new. It's been happening for as long as we've had mass media. And sometimes it's a good thing, like how media narrative changes in the 80s and 90s led to policy movements tackling climate change. Other times, it perpetuates problems. And, well, there are two outlets in Aotearoa media which have recently shown just how that can happen. Both of them are owned by New Zealand Media and Entertainment, NZME. But the entire problem isn't just them pushing racist narratives. See, last week, we saw the front page of the Herald run a full page cover advertisement from race baiters Hobson's Pledge. It claimed that Māori are after every bit of the foreshore and big scary pictures because, well, who needs subtlety? Clearly you don't understand what it is. It's grossly misleading and it managed to upset a lot of people. This is specifically targeted as a campaign. It's aimed at the largest newspaper in the country in terms of readership, and that readership tends to be older and more conservative. This advert was actually designed to confirm a specific bias based on racist disinformation that Hobson's Pledge has been peddling for years. It was designed to add pressure to a decision that the government has already agreed to, which would limit the ability of iwi to make customary rights claims on the foreshore for cultural purposes. An agreement they made as part of the coalition deal with New Zealand First. Casey Costello, the New Zealand First MP, is also a board member of Hobson's Pledge. Within days of the announcement of the change, the Herald ran a paid PR campaign on behalf of an organisation known for spreading racism, which has an audience that is predominantly already voting for these current coalition parties. This was designed to make these changes much more palatable to them, many of whom are now questioning things like this government's approach to winding back progress for Māori. So this campaign was to scare them into believing that these changes are justifiable, because look what they're fighting against. At the other end of the problem, we've got News Talk ZB, the radio station where the richest arseholes tell middle-class Kiwis that poor brown people are the problem and cyclones aren't anything to worry about because you can still collect your kids up in their convertibles in a completely different part of the country. In April, the BSA actually found that Kate Hawkesby had misled audiences about the equity adjuster score being used in Auckland hospitals by claiming on air that this meant that Māori and Pacifica patients were being moved to the top of waiting lists because of their ethnicity. This actually followed reporting that morning by ZB political reporters Barry Soper and Jason Walls about the existence of the ethnicity element of the adjuster score, but they didn't make those same claims. Within hours of Hawkesby's comments, both National and ACT had launched campaigns to end the policy. Feedback that she had completely rage-farmed from her audience was pouring in, and social media feeds of politicians were being filled with demands from the same people that the Herald ad was aimed at, about how this needed to end. On August 1st this year, two things happened. A report was released from Te Whatu Ora, which actually found that while there were some small issues with the rollout of that adjuster policy, with some tweaking, it could actually work really well and then be rolled out around the rest of the country because ethnicity was such a small factor that was considered, well below things like clinical needs for the waiting list. Oh, and the government dropped the tool. That also happened on the same day. In fact, when they announced that they were dropping the tool, Dr. Shane Reti acknowledged the findings of the report and said, "Too late, we're already dropping it." So some media more than others seem comfortable using their platform to spread disinformation, particularly around race. I'm sure it's a complete coincidence that News Talk ZB is the only station to have had 3 upheld BSA complaints about discrimination in the past 4 years, and is the mainstream station of choice for our government MPs. Well, the ones who refuse to go on reality check radio. But the problem isn't just the media. It's not necessarily the politicians as well who react to the rage that they create in their audience. It's actually the audience itself to a degree. You see, these are both examples of how a lack of media literacy can cause people to fall for opinion dressed as fact, in the case of Hawkesby, or advertising dressed as news in the case of the Herald. Yes, they were deliberately misled, but having the right tools to be able to interpret media can help minimize that impact. And if we don't find a way to fix it, then those misled and disinformed people will continue to be the voters who go out and choose the direction of the government.